Good afternoon. Good afternoon to everyone. Good afternoon to everyone. Jewish events used to start always a few minutes late, but since COVID and since Livestream, we now start on time because we have people who are participating on Livestream, and so we don't want to keep anybody waiting. So a warm welcome and Shavua Tov to everyone. And on behalf of Rabbi Felicia Sol and myself and our community of Bnei Jeshurun, we'd like to welcome everyone here in person and those who are on live stream to a celebration of the publication of the English version of Dirshuni, women's Midrash, and it's really a real breakthrough, and we celebrate this incredible work that has now come out in English. We want to also thank the co-sponsors of this event, the Marlene Meyerson JCC, Beit Rabban, Shivat Maharat, the Shalom Hartman Institute of North America, Hadar, Hebrew Union College, Keilat Re'im Ahuvim, Rodev Shalom, SAJ, Congregation Beit Elohim in Brooklyn, and at the last couple of days, the Schechter School asked to be added to this list, and I'm sure that as people find out, they're going to say, why weren't we included in this list? Because it's a really something we should all come together to celebrate. I had the pleasure of meeting Tamar Biala in the summer of 2000 at the Hartman Institute, and since then I have admired for so many years her scholarship, her wisdom, her creativity, her audacity, and her resolve. And we celebrate Tamar's work, but we also celebrate the network of scholars, of brilliant women, scholars, rabbis, writers, educators, artists, and so on. And you can see in the back of the book, the list of contributors to this book is really impressive. And so we celebrate Tamar, but we celebrate also the fact that she gathered around her this incredible group of people who are making this breakthrough. And we celebrate today a breakthrough that is a breaking and a tikkun. Why a breaking? Because it's a breaking of the tablets, of the male tablets of Torah, and it's a tikkun. It's a long overdue act of repair, so it's paradoxical. It's a breaking and it's a repair, long overdue. And so I want to say on behalf of all of us, Yasher Koach Sheshibart, Yasher Koach Sheshibarten, and we are happy to be here for this celebration. Tamar Biala is going to begin this afternoon, and we will then have breakout sessions. We'll explain who will be where, and then we have a wonderful panel. And then at the end, those who want to purchase the book, we will have in the back, we will have an opportunity for purchasing this great work. So without further ado, here's Tamar Biala.
So I want to begin with reading a piece of Midrash named Vata'amod Miledet, and she stopped giving birth. This Midrash doesn't appear in the English volume, but it's Yehuda translated it last week, so it means that I opened a file of second Dirshuni in English. And this Midrash is on Leah that gave birth for 4 sons, and the fourth was Yehuda, And the pasuk says, she became pregnant again and bore a son and said, "This time I will thank God." And so she called his name Yehuda, and she stopped giving birth. They asked in Bruria's Bet Midrash, how could it be that just when she thanked the Holy Blessed One and called her son's name Yehuda, it said of her, then she stopped giving birth? And what's more, that from the day the Holy Blessed One created his world, not a one ever thanked the Holy Blessed One, until came Leah and thanked him. So the question of the Midrash is, how come Dafka, precisely when she was the first person ever on earth thanking the divine, how come Dafka then she can't give birth again? She stopped from giving birth. So in Beit Midrasha Shel Bruria, as if there are plenty of answers for this, and I'm reading for you the last answer. And she stopped giving birth, in Hebrew is Vata'amod Miledet. Is a word jumble. That's what the friends, the scholars in Beit HaMidrash saying. Don't read it Vata'amod Miledet. Take these Hebrew words, take each other, scramble them all, and you can find a different expression there. Read Vatelamed Am Dat. And she taught people religion. She sought to teach the people she birthed. And what religion did she teach them? This time I will thank God. She taught them to give thanks for the good. Her colleagues in Beit HaMidrash, the other women that would never just hear and be quiet, they always have to, her colleagues put a question to her, is giving thanks for the good a kind of religion that you have to learn? Every infant can give thanks. Now, giving thanks for the bad, that is a religion that takes learning. She answered them, saying thanks for one good thing is not at all like saying thanks for a different good thing. Someone will say thank you as a lip service and not see this time, Zot hapa'am, the uniqueness of this good thing. And when she finds herself in hard times, she forgets the good that she had and sees only the bad. At that moment, she blesses is a clean tongue to say curses. When in this, I'll explain it soon, but this person that didn't know how to say thank you properly, and she said it slight thank you, and didn't take it into her heart, when the bad will come, and bad is always coming again, so she will bless God, which means she will curse God. Bless the Holy Blessed One, like Job's wives, who said to him, bless God and die. She really told him, curse guy, and of course the result will be that you will die. And in the end, she has neither the religion of Moses nor any religion at all. So there is one kind of saying thank you that is light and is not serious, and it doesn't help you in a hard moment. But there is a kind of thanks that ushers into one's heart the knowledge that the good is real, that it's possible and there, and the bad can't entirely do it away. And when hard times come upon her, she stands in wonderment. How can the good and the bad exist side by side in the Holy Blessed One's world? And she wonders and lingers and doesn't bless the Holy Blessed One out loud and his world. And even if she does, still she wonders and lingers and doesn't say that the good is a lie. And one still has in her world both good and bad, until she takes upon herself that even if it would have been better for her never to have been created, or at all, than to have been created, she would keep on living and take a good look at her deeds. And maybe one day she will know. So this Midrash is really trying to convince us that the the real good moments are not nothing. Small as they are, they will help you in the hard, difficult moment to realize that this world is complicated. Don't just throw everything and either be a bad person or commit suicide or whatever. Don't give up. It means that it's weird and it's difficult, and we may understand it one day and we may not, but it just let us some time of bewilderment before we take a bad action. And I chose this Midrash because Dirshuni was that good moment. This day is my good moment. And it taught me that the good is real. For many years, I knew that the bad is real. We all had our experiences. And my Jewish learning experience many times was wonderful, many times it was horrible, really, really horrible. And finding out that revelation that I had something like 20 plus years ago, finding those pieces of Midrashim written by women, I want to thank here first my husband Yehuda. Yehuda, that his mother Leah learned how to think after seeing him. He was the first to introduce me to this phenomena by showing me midrashim that were written by American women in the 60s, and I translated them into Hebrew, and I was overwhelmed with joy. But it was more like short stories, poems. Later, when I found Israeli midrashim in Hebrew that sounds exactly like Chazal, it was another revelation. But he's the first person that I would like to thank. And not only that, he translated all the midrashim in this volume and many others that I have in my computer. And he went through a process falling in love with them and realizing that this is Torah. This is a sacred Torah. This Torah should be in our Aron Kodesh. And it's funny, you said before, to break is, and to create is a simultaneous. So for me, I always say to come out and to put Dirshuni in the closet. So what are we? But this is the same. So first, thank you is for Yehuda, my husband. Then I want to thank. You all know Roli and Felicia, but for me, they're beyond rabbis of a shul. They were like angels telling me, you are normal, and it's not bad, and it's healthy to Judaism. So that was a long time ago already, and they also helped me find support to work on the English volume, which really enabled, without you it wouldn't happen. So this is the second thank you. I do want to thank, and maybe I'll tell a few words about Dirshuni, I want to thank the women that wrote these midrashim. So the first little notebook of midrashim in Hebrew that I found was a little notebook that was thrown somewhere on a table. The person who wrote it, her name is Rivka Lubitch. Her midrashim are above and beyond. They're so witty and so important with many reasons. So I found her little booklet, and it was in a period in my life that I didn't know. I felt like I have to choose between being a feminist and a Jew. And I couldn't, of course, and I was in a very weak place emotionally. And finding those midrashim by her were really a revelation. It sounded so traditional, and limud Torah. You have to think when you read it, and it's also the language was exactly like Chazal, but the message was so feministic, life-affirming, was so moral and alive, and that day, more than 20 years ago, I realized that not only that it's possible to be a Jew and a feminist, this is our generation's challenge. If we don't do this, I don't know what Judaism will be. So later on, I found that other women spending a long time in Batei Midrash in Israel, not necessarily religious. The pluralistic Batei Midrash in Israel are all over. There are those that are for men and women together, others just for women, both secular and religious women only together. It's fascinating phenomena. So I found that women do write midrashim, but they don't know that other women do it. So it was a whole journey, sometimes going to women's home to try to convince them, bring the pieces. Other time, I had a little bundle of midrashim, which I would take to everywhere I taught. No matter what I was paid to teach, I would always teach those midrashim. And in one of these places, I met another woman that told me, I know that you're not lying. I know that it's all true, and you didn't invent these pieces and just wrote different names, because I have a parallel bundle, which is not the same midrashim. So we went together to Yediot Achronot, a publishing house, a big publishing house in Israel, told them that we want to write a Jewish sacred book. They loved the idea. A few months later, when we got so much bad responses, we chickened and we told them, actually we want to write a different, and to invent a new genre in Judaism. They said, no, you signed on a contract publishing Midrashim, and it was, thanks to them, we gained our courage to get back together. And in 2009, we published the first collection, anthology, that had 90 pieces from more than 30 women that didn't know each other. I didn't know them. All the correspondence editing those pieces was an email. You can imagine we had a party after the book came out, and just to see their bodies, and when they speak about the pieces as if it's theirs, I knew them all by heart, and they were all running in my blood back and forth. It was a weird experience. After the first volume was published, the reception was very complicated. Some of the book reviews were, finally, after 2,000 years, we have room and we're part of it. And others were horrible, with different claims, why it's the beginning of the end. And there were 2 book chains that immediately banned it. Others made good money out of it because immediately we had to reprint the book. There was a halachic ruling, psak halacha, shoot, that you're not allowed to have the book at home. So if one of the first things that will pop up to you when you write Dirshuni in Hebrew on the computer will be that psak halacha, so don't say you didn't know if you're planning on buying this book. And immediately after the book was published, new midrashim poured to our mailboxes, me and Nechama. Nechama was this friend, Nechama means Weingärten, that published the first volume with me. So it took us, Nechama couldn't work with me anymore on Dirshuni, and it took me a while to find sources. And in the years that I spent here with my family in Boston, the last decade, I worked on a second volume of Dirshuni. That was more courageous a little bit from the first one, in the sense that there are harsh topics being dealt in this volume, theologically, post-Holocaust theology, midrashim on incest, rape, hard and painful topics. Also very witty and diverse topics, not only gender issues. There were much more midrashim, mystical midrashim, which is a subgenre, a whole, you know that in Israel there's no separation between state and religion. It has awful results. A lot of people suffer from it. So there are different midrashim written about different topics that has to do with this. And it was accepted so in such love, and there was no harsh book review about this. I guess the folks that didn't want to know about it anymore, so if after the first Dirshuni I received emails about simcha and the osher that it gave people, and after the second volume, I just received from strange rabbis and teachers and professors the source sheets that they were using in classes, from people that were in shul, and sent me, most of them strangers, of all denominations. That may be the most important thing to say again and again, because the criticism on the book was partially also about this chutzpah of having all denominations together. So in the years that I spent in America, I taught Dirshuni for rabbinical students of all denominations, and in shuls of all denominations, either as a scholar in resident on weekends or classes, courses. And people said, so when is the book coming? I didn't have this idea in my head, but I realized that why not? And Brandeis, the HBI and Brandeis Press offered to do this volume, but the condition was that I'll choose only 50 pieces and write commentary, that it will be accessible to all. And it was the wisest idea. I'm very sorry I didn't do it for the Hebrew volumes. Since the book came out a few months ago, a rain of so many people used it in their sermons and in the high holidays. The Seminario Rabbinico in South America asked to have a course on Dirshuni, so now it's all America's rabbinical schools that are involved with this. And from last week, I have this shigon that I may do a second volume in English. So today, the idea is to taste Dirshuni, and then in 3 classes by women that has been teaching Dirshuni in the last decade in America. And maybe you can share with us not just the Midrash that you want to teach, but also the experience of teaching it. And the second part will be a panel talking about this phenomena. Dirshuni is not the only sacred book that is being written now by women, by other genders. So what's the place of, how is our Jewish bookshelf is going to look? How do you do it? How do we create a new canon or add to our canon more Sifrei Kodesh? So I thank you tremendously for coming. I thank the women that wrote the Midrashim. Many of them wrote about very, very vulnerable topics. I don't think they understood that we will be here and the book will be all over. Last week, or 2 weeks ago, my daughter found on Google, on the videos, some rabbi that I don't know teaching Dirshuni somewhere in America. Young, vibrant woman. It was also from the high holidays, I don't know when she taught it. It was all an analysis of a Midrash by Rivka Lubitch. I sent it to her. I sent her the link immediately by WhatsApp, and an hour later, the thing is much shorter than an hour, Rivka sent me a WhatsApp. I can't stop crying. So I can tell you that when I started working on the first Dirshuni, I was sure that 50 years after I die, someone will find the book and will say, oh, women did actually write something. And the blessing that communities are doing siyum, traditional siyum on Dirshuni. Rabbinical schools are doing siyum and Dirshuni when they finish studying it. Even a couple that I was in touch with on their wedding, and the Tish before their wedding did a siyum on Dirshuni. So this blesses beyond my expectations, and all it means is that we were ready for this, and there is a need in hearing the 51% Torah that we lacked until now. אז תודה רבה מאוד for enabling us to have this.
Thank you, Tamar. Maybe people have questions before we go to the breakout, so maybe just a couple of questions, and then I'll announce who is teaching where.
How is the English version compared to the is it different, or is it a translation, a compilation? How did you come up with the English version after having 2 versions?
Yes, so in both Hebrew volumes, there are more than 150 pieces. So I had to choose. So I chose some that looked to me crazily important, some that I knew that the English audience will understand and it won't be foreign and irrelevant. And it was mostly things that it's easy to translate because it's all games and words many, many times and the roots. And so I love the English volume a lot because it has also something that is important to say, an introduction by Tamar Kadari. Tamar Kadari is a Midrash professor in Shechter in Jerusalem. I owe her everything. She went over for free. She worked for the last 20 years on Dirshuni for free. She helped me with the 2 Hebrew volumes to see that I don't miss anything because we didn't want ideas that someone else said before. We had to see that every Midrash is original. Many times you write things originally, but we don't know that they were said by other people. But so she helped me define that. And the English volume, she went over all my commentary. So she gave us this introduction that explains what a Midrash is and what a feminine Midrash is. Fascinating.
I would imagine that many of these are on subjects about women. Were there any midrashim that were totally unexpected or that turned things on their heads that weren't about women?
Sure. Maybe a third of the midrashim is not about women. So last night I've been teaching a few midrashim in a certain event, and they were on the parasha yesterday, the Parashat Vayetze. So there was a midrash on Yaakov coming out of, as if Beersheba, but coming out of the womb of, it's a complicated midrash, and the message there is that only if you do this act of separation, you would notice other people's pain. As if he was in a very good place before, and God pulled him out and enabled him to roll the stone from the well. Was like whatever, a beautiful midrash. It has nothing to do with gender. And like that, there are many other midrashim. The theology, maybe it's a feminist theology, but because my background is feminist theology, you can't say feminist theology, you should say feminist theologies, because they're so different from each other. By the way, the same way as men, especially Jewish men, don't think alike, right? This is our tradition. So you'll find in Dirshuni contradictory evaluations of people, of circumstances, fascinating, and it's all feminist aspect, analysis of, so yes, there's a lot on other topics. And Chagim, can.
Thank you. The whole idea of contemporary midrashim is controversial, at least in the Orthodox world. And when I was at Stern College and we invited Howard Schwartz to talk about midrashim, he got it from some of the students there. So how do you approach it and how do you answer about it? And what is contemporary midrashim male, female? Can it be written? And what do you do about, or do we just let the Orthodox go to their places and not hear our women's, especially the women's midrashim, but any midrashim?
Yeah, I understand. So I'm with joy, I can tell you that I'm receiving so many emails from Orthodox rabbis telling me where they taught which midrash. The young Maharat rabbinical students that one of them will teach here today, they all studied Dirshuni. The folks that don't like this are becoming fewer and they miss it. I mean, the new generation is a different world. There's no worry about this. Be'emet. Listen, the rabbis were radical, and they did it. So there's no reason why we're doing such a similar מהפכה. כן, כן.
Hi, I was wondering, are any of the Midrashim or Midrashim by other women on the online Jewish text source, Sefaria?
Yes, both Hebrew volumes are on Sefaria, free to everyone. Sefaria came up with the idea to put it there. They managed to find the funding and get the rights from Yediot Achronot. So we are in the closet now. I'm saying it in the good. We are on the Jewish bookshelf. Can.
Thank you, Tamar. So we will now have a 15-minute break. There's some refreshments and some snacks in the corridor through this door over here. And then we're going to have the following 3 sessions beginning in about 15-20 minutes. And the sessions will unfortunately not be live streamed. They are going to be recorded, and then we hope to share the link with anybody who's interested. So the first session will be actually one of the sessions will be in the chapel, which is through this door. And as you come through the door, you make a right. Rabbi Avi Kilip from Hadar will be teaching Dirshuni as a tool for reading our most difficult texts. In the reception room, which is further down the corridor, and then a right at the end of the corridor, Rabbi Erin Lips-Mokler from Maharat will be teaching Midrash and Motherhood. And Ilana Steinheim from Hartman, North America, will be teaching here in the sanctuary, Home and Study Hall, the roles of Beit Peruria in Dirshuni. So we will begin in about, I would say, 15 minutes. And I hope everybody has the packet. If you don't have the packet with the texts, you can get it in the middle room where the registration was taking place. And we will gather back here. The sessions will last for 1 hour, the breakout sessions, and then we will gather here for the panel following the breakout sessions. And the panel will be on the live stream. So those who are joining us on live stream, try to be back online around, I would say, 3:45 or 3:50, and if we're still not on, just be patient for a few minutes, and we'll come back on with the panel.